Welcome to Way It Should Be. I'm JD.
I'm Dean.
Today we got Todd with us.
Hello, Todd.
Hello, guys.
Been a long time. Been a couple months since we talked to you, I guess, huh?
About that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how's the traveling going? Where are you at these days? If you want to disclose that information.
Oh, it's no secret. I'm in Quartzsite, Arizona. I'll be here until probably middle of February.
Middle of February.
Dang, that's nice.
And you did you spend some time in Utah this year?
I did. I spent altogether in spring and fall. I spent 2 months there.
2 months. Wow. How'd you Southern Utah?
Southern Utah, both times, yes.
Well, was it everything you thought it was going to be?
You know, I think I've told you before. Utah was the last state in the contiguous U.S. states that I ever visited. It was number 49 overall, and I feel stupid for putting that off until the last one because there's so much there that really I could spend a year round there. There's so much things to see and do.
Really?
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time in that Southern Utah area, and I love it. I love it there. I've even spent some time in the summer there, and it's still. I mean, it's hot. It's not Texas hot, or it didn't feel that way to me anyway when I was there. But it's beautiful. Yeah,
It is.
I've only been to Salt Lake City. I was there for 8 hours.
It was with your Mormon training.
No, and I was on a bus coming back from Oregon. It was awful.
That's about 10 hours too long to stay in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Well, I found a 6-pack of beer under some bushes, so that made it a little easier. I was wandering around and I looked under some bushes and there was a 6-pack of, I think it was Coors Light or something. And I was like, oh yeah, this is mine now.
Stole some
another Brigham Young miracle.
That's right. Yes.
Stole some teenagers' beer.
Well, don't leave it by a bus station under some bushes.
You stole some bum's beer.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
It was mine. I drank all that beer, and I loved every bit of it.
So Arizona now. So I've seen you posting quite a bit here lately on this government shutdown stuff, or not government shutdown stuff. Excuse me, the public lands being shut down. But really, when I've tried to research some of it, I don't find a whole lot other than the national parks. Pending shutdown for the government shutdown, rather, not what you're saying.
Well, I'd tell you a good resource to go to would be the Blue Ribbon. I'm sorry, let me get that for you so you know. It's the Blue Ribbon Coalition, the people that are really spearheading the whole effort to I lost you guys. Spearheading the whole effort to fight these illegal land seizures by the BLM.
So okay, that's what I was curious. So it's the BLM, and they're, I guess, kind of, if you don't mind, give us a
let's start at the beginning. What exactly
what's
is going on?
Well, the World Economic Forum has an initiative called 30 by 30 initiative, where every country that signs on to this is committed to closure or locking up 30% of all public lands by 2030, essentially eliminating them from all use from all parties. The only exception being hikers, which if you've got 1.8 million acres you're closing, such as in Wyoming, hikers aren't going to be able to use 1.8 million acres. It's just basically an illegal land grab, what they're doing. Anyway, the 30 by 30 initiative is something that the Biden administration signed on to, which they couldn't do that officially because that's a treaty and the Senate didn't pass the international treaty. So that in itself is an legal question. But through an executive order, Biden um, declared the 30 by 30 initiative national policy. And what we're seeing then is not only in the Moab area of Utah, but in Rock Springs area of Wyoming, there's an attempt to close down 1.8 million acres, like I said, in Wyoming, and they're also starting down the road to close down a lot of areas around uh, Grand Staircase Escalante in Utah, and following that around the Bears Ears area. Um,
So the Bears Ear
so
stuff has been kind of coming and going a lot here lately, or in the last 5 years, right? Because it was closed and it was
um,
open.
I'm not at all familiar with the history behind a lot of these places since I've only recently started traveling to Utah in the last 4 years or so. But I know that nowhere is really safe. Nowhere where the federal government owns land is really safe. What it's closing the land down to is not only recreation, but cattle grazing and energy development. So all of those areas are essentially being locked up for no use to become wilderness areas.
Yeah, that's something else. So wilderness. We briefly touched on this with, I think it was Rechtenwald when we had him on, where it basically, yeah, no use for humans, which is ridiculous. I mean,
Mhm.
and like you said, to just leave it for hikers. I mean, there's a good portion of Rocky Mountain National Park, and I'm sure you know this. What this like, if you go to Rocky Mountain National Park, you may see 3% of it. It's so huge, and that there's a huge part that you can only get back to hiking or whatever. And so there's parts that,
Mhm.
and that's probably a fraction of the land of what we're talking about with this. So if you say only hikers, you're just eliminating a huge group of people that use the land. And I can't imagine. I mean, other than the World Economic Forum stuff, what is where someone drives a four wheel drive back a road like that, and they're endangering some turtle or something like what.
Um, the claims are pretty dubious. The areas they're closing have been used for recreational purposes for decades, and it's not like they're taking pristine wilderness area that has never been touched and protecting it. They're taking areas that have been in use for decades by motorized recreation, as well as mountain bikers and anybody really recreating outdoors. Um, I've seen a lot of posts on social media about people that are blaming one form of recreation or another. Mountain bikers blaming, for instance, side by side drivers, and off roaders blaming, you know, e-bike riders or whatever. And that's just an attempt by the authorities really to try and divide opposition to the closures. It is not being closed under law. It's an administrative decision by the Bureau of Land Management. So that in itself is pretty suspect as far as legality is concerned. Um, what we're seeing then is a larger picture of Congress kind of abdicating their lawmaking authorities to executive branch, um, which that needs to be rolled back. And fortunately, we have a Supreme Court that has shown some history of doing that. But what we're up against, really, and I say we because we're kind of all part of that outdoor community. What we're up against is a group of environmental organizations that are approaching this with religious fervor. I mean, it's very much religious fervor uh, in a crusade to try and protect the environment. And it's really unfortunate because the outdoor recreation concerns have been kind of put back on their heels, because they weren't really prepared for that kind of onslaught to the rights of outdoor enthusiasts. But you know, the recreation side is becoming more and more organized, but the really the funding is there for the environmentalists, and they're kind of deep in the pockets of um, the government side anyway. They're kind of in and out of the government in that regard, kind of like the lobbyists are in Congress. They're kind of they flow in and out of that into that area is pretty freely because they've embedded themselves into the government agencies that deal with the environment.
I would imagine.
Um,
I would imagine kind of the 4-wheel drive communities and the mountain bikers and everything like that. If you look at like what hunters do for animal, protecting the animal population, I would imagine that you're probably along the same lines with the 4-wheel drive and the mountain bike communities doing the same thing with the public lands. It's just they're the ones taking care of it. I know there's a YouTuber that I follow and watch that's in that, I believe it's that St. George area of Utah. And they kind of, I think they won there. They had some stuff going on here recently where they were trying to shut down some of their public lands. And luckily he has a big enough following, I guess, that it seems like they got some stuff done on it. But, those people are the ones, they're not just out there 4-wheel driving. They're out there, doing cleanup days while they 4-wheel drive and, doing that stuff that, if you close it off, who does it then? And I know people are going to say, well, no one will be out there, but it's the same argument that we hear time and time again. Someone will get out there, someone will tear it up, and then you won't have the people that are taking care of that stuff doing it.
Well, what you see, especially in regards to this area around Moab, you have some local governments, some of state governments that have given grants to clubs and organizations that go out there and pretty much adopt some of these trails with signage and cleanups and things like that. And these grants have gone directly to the BLM to support these organizations, and that's been very organized over several decades, and that's out the window now.
We're talking about Bureau of Land Management, just to make sure. Bureau of Land Management, yes. BLM.
Bureau of Land Management. They're so what they're going to do with those funds now, who knows? But it's not going to be going to its intended purpose.
It seems to me that some of those areas, like your Moab area, would really be screaming, because if you drive some of the 4-wheel drive stuff, and at least local governments, right, in Moab, that is why Moab's there. I mean, there's not a whole lot else going on in Moab other than the off-roading.
No, and I've heard it said by useful idiots in the off-road community that, there's plenty of trails still open. But
yeah,
that's not the point. The point is that once they close this down, they're going to be looking for another target.
Yeah.
It's very much that the whole thing is if you close down something somewhere, the idiots don't stop coming. They find somewhere else to go, and they'll concentrate somewhere else, and it gives a ready excuse for these closure advocates to go in and close somewhere else. I don't understand really the rationale behind wanting to close everything, except that the other side isn't rational. They're emotionally based, and they're approaching us, like I said before, with a religious fervor.
So, and just for anybody that's out there listening, I mean, you spend quite a bit of your time on public lands, right? I mean, fair to say. I mean, you're overlanding full time.
Okay, well, I I've been trying to define really what I am, and I'm kind of a combination of nomad, overlander, um, hiker, side by side rider, um, 4-wheel drive, off roader kind of thing. But so I touch all those categories. But um, I'm on public lands because I want to be on public lands, but I'm also using public lands because out of necessity. I'm retired, and my my pension uh, won't allow me to pay a mortgage or rent every month and still um, actually have a life. So in order to do that, I've chosen the nomad life, and I really enjoy that. And um, having available to us the public lands is a godsend, really, because it allows not only myself but here in Quartzsite, there's 100,000 other nomads within 100 square miles. Um, so there's quite a few of us.
Yeah, I mean, so we're not talking to someone we're talking to someone that's you're someone that's using this land quite a bit, and not someone that's just read this going on. No, like this is what you're doing, which is
Yeah, I'm not a weekend enthusiast. I mean, this is a full time thing. I'm out here all the time. When I say all the time, I'm probably thinking, I'm probably guessing, just estimating, probably 11 out of 12 months I'm on public land camping.
I got a question. So I don't know anything about anything what you guys are talking about. I don't use the public lands. I'm not a camper. I'm not doing the overlanding thing like he does.
I've been trying to get him into it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But my question is, okay, so the shutting off these lands, is it just it's not cutting out people that are hiking in there, right? So hiking is fine.
Hiking would be okay.
Camping is okay.
No,
No camping.
no camping.
Okay. So day trips only.
Essentially, yes.
All right.
So you're thinking what? I mean, a good hiker, I mean, someone that's can cover 10, 12 miles a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I could not cover that much. I am not that good. I mean, what would
Yeah,
you
but they're
think?
really only going to go 10 miles in
They're
because
going to
they
go
got
5
to turn
miles
around.
in and go 5 miles. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say?
Um, I really don't. I really don't know. It depends on the terrain,
Yeah.
of course, and the weather, all kinds of factors. But I it's really irrelevant how far in a hiker could go or what hikers can do, because um, they've essentially made it almost impossible for hikers to use except a small sliver of public land.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, well, my point was kind of like if you are a top notch hiker, you're still covering just a tiny bit of land. If that was, say, this goes through, and that's the way it is, like the amount of land that you're going to see is just tiny compared to what they're closing off, and that's a great hiker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
I was trying to look at this from the other side's
Again,
perspective.
you're concentrating that use on a small sliver of or small portion of the land that is going to end up getting the most use. So you're not exactly doing the land a favor.
Yeah. So is this land Is there like oil drilling rights that are affected by this, and cattle grazing rights, and or is it just affecting people that want to camp and ride around on 4-wheelers?
It's all uses.
All uses. Okay.
So energy exploration to cattle grazing, all those sorts of things. Interestingly enough, BLM has no problem at all selling public land or leasing public land for solar farms.
Hmm.
They'll be happy to go out there and clear acres and acres of desert habitat for many animals, just to put solar farms out there. They have no problem with that.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I get where you guys are coming from, and I can also see the other side's argument too. So I have no skin in this game, so I'm just trying to hash this all out. Yeah, if they're just closing the land off to preserve it, what would make it different than, say, preserving Yosemite National Park or any other national park? Just trying to see how the average person might look at it. What would be the issue with that?
Well, the difference being national parks are not reserved for public use for many different uses.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually they're a different department of the executive branch. That's the Department of Interior. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. It's the same department. I get my national forests confused. Anyway,
there's a lot of departments.
There's quite a bit. But the public lands really, I don't know exactly the entire history, but public lands have been set aside for public use.
Yeah.
It's not private property. It shouldn't be regarded as if this is government property and you're not allowed to have access to it, which is essentially what it's becoming.
Right. That's what I was gonna, I guess, get around to. I guess is, for me, I think I would be along the same lines as you guys. This is like what he just said. It's public land. So if it's land owned by the public, it shouldn't be shut off from the public to use. I guess they're gonna make the argument, well, you can still use it. You can hike in there, but I can't because I can only go at best 10 miles in, and then I got to turn around and come back if I can't camp there. So you've taken land that belongs to the American people and you've closed us out from it.
Yeah, it's essentially.
But you're going to sell it out for solar farms and wind farms.
It's government private property. That's what they're wanting to.
Yeah.
You've essentially closed the land down to everyone but the most able-bodied.
Yeah.
Forget about senior citizens having access to go do those things. Anybody with a physical impairment, sensory impairment, those sorts of things, they're not going to be able to use it. Even though that was the intent of having the public land from the beginning. Not only is this 30 by 30 initiative being championed by the Biden administration, but they've also signed on to the follow-up initiatives, which are called the 40 by 40 initiative, which is 40% of public lands locked up by 2040, and the 50 by 50 initiative, which is 50% of public lands locked up by 2050. So this is essentially just a huge grab.
Yeah, this seems, I mean, if what you're saying is true, I'm not doubting what you say. It's just another way these leftists and the environmentalists are trying to exercise more control over the rights of the American people, really, because that land belongs to everybody in this country. It's what we pay taxes for. It's what it's set aside for, is our use. I don't know, man. It's crazy. This is crazy.
So the ones that are going after right now are around the Utah. You said Utah area, southern Utah area.
The one that they recently just the management plan passed was the one for around Moab, and there's also one in Wyoming called it's Rock Springs, um, where there's 3.6 million acres that are being managed by the BLM, and they're closing 1.8 million of that 3.6. So half of that they're managing in Wyoming is being closed. But the Wyoming congressional delegation has added a rider to the recent appropriations bill that would defund the BLM's closing of the Rock Springs acreage. So they're fighting back in Congress in that way. Um, the organized opposition to the other closures is just now starting to be galvanized, and the group that's leading the way, as I mentioned earlier, the Blue Ribbon Coalition, um, is they're galvanizing opposition to organized opposition to these illegal land seizures.
Yeah, I think we'll have to link put that in the Blue Ribbon Coalition. We'll have to link that in the description here because
And I I read also on social media somebody was somebody had posted something on Facebook was that about, oh, I'm fine with it because I don't go out and do any four wheeling. I just go out and disperse camp. Well, they're closing areas to disperse camping too.
yeah,
So if Dean, if you don't know what dispersed camping is, that's just basically just wild camping out on the land.
Mm.
You just drive somewhere and set up camp,
it's the
and
best camping.
it is, and they're closing areas to that. The idea really is they want to force all camping into designated developed campgrounds by 2050.
Wow.
So all dispersed camping will end.
Yeah, and the designated camping spots are not my favorite. They're
No, and you'll need to reserve a spot.
Yeah.
Because there won't be enough.
Yeah, that saved my vacations the way that it works with my job and everything. A lot of times I can't plan out. Right now, if I wanted to camp somewhere, say, I could be looking at a 6-month waiting list or a 6-month. I had to get on there and reserve it 6 months out. Well, if that's not possible with your job or whatever. I mean, I've done so much just because we were like, well, you can go up there and there's open property. We can disperse camp anywhere. And to be honest, it's not like it's tore up. There are, I mean, you obviously have seen more than me, but for the most part, what I've seen, the people that are actually doing that leave the place pretty clean. The people that are willing to get into those places.
Yeah, there's been some irresponsible use over the years, but that's the case in any kind of recreation. Go to any lake and look at the boaters. I mean, not every boater is picking up the trash and keeping it in the boat, or concerned about like engine fluid spills in the water or something like that. That not every boater is concerned about that, but some of the boaters are very much concerned about it. So that very small percentage of people that are irresponsible um, give ammunition to those folks that want to close things down. Um, the example that I heard was that imagine a freeway. Imagine a freeway you're driving down. For you guys in Texas, imagine I-35, and somebody in Texas gets angry because there's litter along I-35. So instead of managing the litter issue, they just close I-35 as the solution.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get rid of the cars. You're not going to get rid of the traffic. You're not even going to get rid of the litter. You're just closing it because that's the chicken shit way out of it, I guess.
Yeah. Man, well, I guess what are some way other this Blue Ribbon Coalition? Like I said, we'll link that. I mean, is there anything that that people could do? Or is this the best way? This Blue Ribbon Coalition?
So one of the issues really is the people that use the land the most. I'm talking about like the nomad community, and there's a sizable nomad community that travels around the western United States, living on public land. Um, they are really, because they're nomads, they're really underrepresented politically, as they really have no one to represent them. They have a home address, and that's the address where they would vote. And those addresses are all over the country, and they don't form a sizable voting block um, in any one particular area. But this issue is not contained to one particular area. It's contained to. It's going to be all over the Western United States. The problem is the Eastern United States is where the bulk of the population is, and there's very little public land um, that's in this situation that's vulnerable on the Eastern United States. So those people that live out there, the coastal elites, are not really concerned about this. This is not their issue. Um, in fact, that's where a lot of the environmental groups are headquartered, and that's where they like to sit and worship Gaia, Mother Earth, or I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's kind of they like they think of it really more of a regional issue, and the regional issue, the region that they're dealing with is does not really have a large congressional representation. So they figure they can easily steamroll um, their way through things.
Well, and this kind of seems like it plays a lot into with the cattle raising stuff. This plays a lot into the whole Bundy situation that went down. I mean, it ties to that, not the I guess the cattle grazing Bundy issue, not the but I guess both really, not the ranger station Bundy issue.
Yeah.
True. Um, and a lot of the people that are living out west, and they've had these grazing rights for these grazing leases for years and years and years, and they own basically a small, relatively speaking, you know, a 64-acre plot that their home resides on, and then they depend on all of this acreage around them, the public lands, to graze their livestock, because their livestock, they can't sustain their livestock on 64 acres. I forget the number, but it takes hundreds of thousands of acres to graze livestock out here in the desert. Um, there's just not enough forage for them, um, and if you cut that off, you cut the livestock raising, and that plays right into the environmentalists' hands, because no more cow farts, and have to worry about um,
I
climate change from cows.
How much of this, like, I don't know, Todd, do you consider yourself a libertarian? I guess don't put you on the spot there.
Yes.
So with this public, because it goes back to it, I go back to this. Like I'm love all the public land, but I'm not sure how I square it with myself and my libertarian stuff. But if it is public, this is what I get to. If it is public and this is the world we live under, we've talked about this kind of.
I'll tell you one thing: there's no such thing as being ideologically pure.
Right.
It's just not a. It's not a thing.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. So if this is what we live at, if it is public land, it has to be public land where the public can use it.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know. Is that how you kind of square your thoughts with it, or how do you do it?
Well, strictly from the perspective of a Texan, the whole idea of public lands and using public lands is really kind of foreign.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
There's really essentially no public land in Texas. There's a small tiny amount, but um, everything's private, and it makes it difficult for us to recreate, and it throws us into a lot more planning and a lot more forethought, a lot more travel to find what we're looking for. But having used public land and for many years, for decades, whenever I've gone out anywhere, um, it's really the best way I know to be. I'm going to use this word and don't come unhinged, to be more inclusive of people, to be more inclusive of all social stratas in in our country. You have I've seen families that live in a school bus, and they homeschool their children, and they just every 14 days they move somewhere else on public land, um, because they're able to one parent is able to work and the other parent is able to um, raise the kids and homeschool the kids, and because of that they're able to maintain that close family ties that we all used to have in this country. And really, you see that more and more frequently. A lot of people just opting out of um, the regular economy, and um, one parent teaching remotely while the other one raises the kids and homeschools the kids. And I'm so much in favor of that, which is ironic, being a retired public school teacher. Um, but
Or is it
since
ironic? I've seen
I,
enough that
yeah, I think what we've done, what we've become, what we morphed into as a country has basically removed the family as a central nuclear unit for society.
yeah,
And I don't like the direction that's trending. Really, to tell you the truth, I don't. I,
yeah,
I think that's a danger to us.
for sure. So this community that's out there, the nomad community, I guess you'd say, you said you think about 100,000 people out there doing this.
Just to the Quartzsite area alone, there's about 100,000 people um, right now, and it will probably swell to close to 1 million people at, right after the beginning of the new year.
Okay, so is everybody's going there because the temperature's nice? Is that what all these people doing that? The weather's good.
The weather's good, but they there's an element of freedom, an element of liberty that you don't get in the city. Um, and it's basically you're around like-minded people, more or less. There's some crazies here, but you're around people that just enjoy their freedoms. They enjoy being somewhere where there's not this frantic pace all the time. Um, it used to be it used to be mostly veterans and retired military types, um, back in the 1980s, but eventually it's kind of expanded out to people that are van lifers and schoolies and uh, women of dubious orientation living in vans. Yeah, there's quite
That's a
people.
nice way to put it.
Yeah, drum circles and nudists and retired couples, and you know there's just a huge amount of variety of people out here. Um, Mostly everyone gets along. Uh, there rarely needs to be any kind of
Law enforcement.
authority that
Oh.
involved in mediating anything. And usually everything, it's an easy way to solve things when you can just pack up and move somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. If your neighbor's being loud, you just start your school bus up and
Go down the road a bit.
go down the road a little ways. And
That's right.
so, does anybody put that? So, is that like a festival put on, or is it just people have gathered here, started gathering here?
It just kind of started that way back in. I heard somebody talking about this around a campfire, and they said it was um, years ago, back in the early '60s. It was a group of rocket scientists from NASA that came out and basically lived in the desert for part of the winter, and then eventually you had retirees and, like I said, veterans that came out in their RVs and stayed here. So it's just grown and grown. Um, there's several types of camping out here. There's the long-term visitor area, uh, which you pay $180 for an entire season. The season runs from September the 15th to April 15th. So you're essentially, paying um, 6 months for $180, and there's potable water and sewer, and let's see what else they have, the garbage service and things like that. And then there's 5 of those areas around Quartzsite, and then there's like the 14-day areas that are free, but you can only stay 14 days. But the town of Quartzsite has maybe 800 full-time residents, and the population, like I said, swells to almost 1 million people in January. So the community really is built and exists because of all these nomads.
So it's kind of like long-term Burning Man, huh?
Without the drum circles and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I didn't realize you. I'd heard someone when we were up in Colorado this year talking about that, and I didn't realize or talking about. Yeah, I had never heard of it. Courtside, is that what you said? Court side.
Quartzsite.
Yeah, I had never heard about it.
Quartzsite. Like
I didn't
mineral.
realize you were headed that way. And you've been doing it a couple years now, where you go there, or?
This is my second year here. This is the first I've done the long-term visitor area. Last year I just moved around between the 14-day areas, but I just kind of wanted to get a look at it last year, and there's a vibe here that I like, and
Yeah.
it's kind of that let it be kind of vibe that really agrees with me.
Well, it seems to me that doing where we've met you up in Colorado and different times that we've gathered with people from the overlanding, or I don't even know if you call just camping people that camp. Well, that mentality kind of goes with it. I know just in conversations, was it fireside conversations? There's probably that people that go to those that I politically disagree with, and yet at the same time, when we're up there, it's the same. Just like, oh, let it be, just it's not even brought up. I don't know. It's hard to explain what I'm trying to say here, but
You're not there to talk politics. You're just there to enjoy nature.
well, but it's like it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's not even
Politics doesn't matter when you're out in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere. What's it matter?
Yeah. So I imagine with that many people, it's probably a little of the same kind of mentality.
Well, it takes all kinds, and there's all kinds out here. So and really, this is not the place to be intolerant of different beliefs and ideas and different people. I don't think those people last in this community.
Right. I think you should go up there, Dean. You seem like you would fit right in there. I've been trying to get him to go camping.
So,
No, he's not gonna do it.
no interest.
So, Dean, are you a hunter?
No. I'd like to be, but it's hard to do that with the job that we have.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been something else. Well, man, you've let me know. I'm gonna dig into this. This Blue Ribbon Coalition. I'm gonna dig into this because, like I said, and even Chad, he's being quiet today. Before we got together, Chad said, "Man, I tried to look some of this stuff up. I'm not seeing what we're talking about." So, but now I guess we have a site. Like I said, we'll link to that. Looks like they have a store and everything on their site. I'm sure that all that goes to help that. And like to me, it's just a slippery slope. Like kind of, and I hate that term, but it applies in so many places with the government. You start this, they get this done, and what's the next thing? You know, what's the next one they're trying to close down? But do you have questions? Because you're not, like I said,
I don't know anything about this, so I'm just sitting here learning. Yeah, I have no opinion about this one way or the other.
So one thing I thought about this after last time we had you on. You have a whole Patreon. We didn't plug that. We need to make sure we plug that for you. You have a whole Patreon. People can follow you. You've got routes and stuff set up for overlanding or nomadic lifestyle. However,
I do. Yes.
What are they?
Yeah, what are they? What are?
I have. Well, I have too many to list, really. Awful lot in Texas, but a lot all over the Western United States now, because that's kind of what I've been doing out here. Is kind of doing a lot of route finding and things like that on my time. But I can provide you with a link to that if you'd like, and you can check it out and see what's there. There are some popular routes on there that I've developed that are free downloads, and then there's some stuff that are more obscure that might be behind a paywall, depending upon your location.
Cool. Yeah, give us those links. We'll post them up there in the description so other people can check them out.
All right.
And Go Native.
I will send those to you separately.
Okay.
All right, that'll work.
Go Native Overland.
Yes.
So cool. All right, man. Well, thanks again for coming on here. Right at just shy of an hour, but this will.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
We always enjoy it.
Yeah, send us some pictures of that. Send us some pictures of that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Every time I'm on with y'all, I feel like a rattlesnake that's just been milked of its venom.
Send us some pictures of that courtside, and we'll post those too. I think put them up in that video if we can. That'd be cool. People, some drum circles or something, big burning effigy or something like that. I don't know, whatever goes on up there, guys. Whatever goes. Oh man. Well, look forward to talking to you again. We'll do this again, man. Appreciate it.
Sure enough, yeah.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. See you guys later.
Later. Next time.
All right. Bye-bye.